Here is our next work of art by Jacques-Louis David. This is titled The Oath of the Hurrati. Now, this was commissioned by the King of France. And what we see here is a story of, well, the ancient Roman world. Surprise, surprise, it's neoclassicism, right? So what about the neoclassical world? The Roman world. Well, the Oath of the Hurrati is a legend taking place in ancient Rome, but specifically it is taking place in Rome before Rome was an empire. It was a republic. Before Rome was a republic, it was a kingdom ruled by a king. And that's when this one is taking place. The legend of the Oath of the Hurrati is that the kingdom of Rome was in a territory war with their neighbors, the people of Alba. And these two kingdoms were constantly fighting, and there was no winner. So they agreed to a fight to the death. The three best soldiers of Rome would fight the three best soldiers of Alba. And they would fight to the death, and whoever won the territory. It just so happened that the three best soldiers for Rome were three brothers. The Hurrati brothers. So here we see the three Hurrati brothers, and they've united together. Look at those strong bodies. Look at those calf muscles for days. And their big, strong forearms, and they're all outfitted for battle. And their father, who understands the glory of this situation, the proud father, he raises up their swords as they raise their hands in a salute to fight for Rome, to fight to the death. Now, students will always ask me, how is he not cutting his hand right now? I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know why Jacques-Louis David chose to have it like this, but yeah. So let's look at this act, this performance here. They have united together, and together they will fight to the death for Rome. Their father, who has taken up their swords, understands this as a great national, a pride of his sons and his nation, the kingdom of Rome. Now on the other side, we see the women of the Hurrati family. And what we have is in opposition to the courage and the strength and the bravery of these men. Instead, we see them in these very soft, curved lines. They look to be mournful, sad, in grief. What we have is the other side of this bravery. This woman here is their mother, and she will undoubtedly lose at least one of her sons. This young woman here is their sister, but guess what? She's engaged to one of the soldiers fighting for Alba. So she's either going to lose a brother or a fiancé. This woman here, cradling her two children, she's from Alba, and she's married to one of the Hurrati. So she's either going to lose a nation or lose a husband, and they will lose their fathers. So what we have presented here for us are the two sides of this very glorious, noble deed, this oath of the Hurrati family. And see how, in terms of the composition, Jacques-Louis David is presenting us with these strong, hard lines. These masculine men are put into these straight, jagged forms, right? They're fearless. And then we have the women, and look at how, in opposition to those strong, hard, angular lines, we have these soft curves, these angles that are bending and, for lack of a better word, weak. So what we have is a balance of opposites, a balance of man and woman, of the power and bravery of war, but also acknowledging the grief and the loss and the fear in war. What we have here is a balanced composition that is meant to ennoble us with a greater sense of morality. It's paid for by who? The King of France. And what he's presenting here, exemplum virtutis, I'll come back to this vocabulary term. But remember, Louis, King of France, has asked David to paint a story of men fighting to their death for the kingdom of Rome. Using our vocabulary term exemplum virtutis, what we see is these men are the example of virtue that the king wants us to embody. Just as the Horatii fought and were willing to die for their king and kingdom, so too you should, starve to death and die for me, your king. Now, the composition also has with it a greater sobriety than what we see in the Rococo period, doesn't it? We don't have all of these frills, nobody's boobs are falling out. Instead, we have this very serious, somber moment, which is your next vocabulary term, gravitas. Gravitas, meaning gravity or weight. Gravitas, a seriousness or sobriety displayed through restrained emotion, dignity, heroism associated with ancient Rome. It's a great word, isn't it? Gravitas. So when we are looking at this, we, the people, are supposed to not only continue with the thought, oh, die for your king, but also with this kind of somber understanding of emotion and dignity and power and national pride. Gravitas. It's a great word. You should try to use it as much as you can in your everyday language, right? Even the architecture in this painting has gravitas. I like to remove figures, or I like to gather images where the figures are removed. So here, this one is by the Hungarian artist Bence Hajdu, and here we have just the background. And what I mean by restrained and gravitas, well, we have three basic round arches, two round columns, and there's no fluff, there's no frills, there's no incrustations, nothing Rococo. In fact, he doesn't even give us a background. He doesn't even give us anything beyond that. He's blacked it out so that we just focus on the foreground. He doesn't even give us any eye candy of what's behind him. Instead, it's just look at these figures in the front and look at that light coming down. We can say that's tenebrism. Adds this drama, gravitas, to the situation. Interesting. That's the thing with neoclassicism, and I haven't emphasized it in this lecture series yet. Neoclassicism is all about instruction. It's about telling you what to do, what to think, what to feel very clearly, right? Exemplum virtutis, gravitas, die for your country, die for your king. I'm pointing a lot because that's what neoclassicism is about. The next period style we'll look at next week, Romanticism, it doesn't do that. It's not telling you exactly how to do and how to behave and what to think. But the neoclassical is.